Hello and welcome to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. My name is Rob Dosser. I have Jeff Goodman here with me, and today we're going to be breaking down the Tennessee Volunteers. The Vols lost quite a bit this offseason. I think that they got hit as hard as anybody when it comes to graduation. Justin Gainey's gone, Zakai Ziegler's gone, Chaz Lanier is gone, Jemai Mashak is gone, Igor Milicic is gone. They did a good job in the portal. Not a great job, but a good job getting Jacoby Gillespie, Amari Abram, and Jalen Carey. They added a good freshman class headlined by none other than Nate Ament, who committed back in May, a five-star, top five kind of a talent. And they bring back a couple of solid role pieces and continuity guys in Cade Phillips, Felix Akpara, JP Estrella, and Bishop Boswell. I am a little bit concerned about Tennessee this year. I'm not going to lie. And I'm concerned about them in the context of the last four seasons. This has been a team that is ranked in the top 10 on KenPom at the end of the year. I don't think that they are at that level this season. Goodman, what do you make of the Balls? What do you make of their roster?
So, yeah, it doesn't blow me away, but I will say this. They have two guys that I think are going to be all league guys at the end of the day. Now, I don't know if Nate Amen is going to be an all league guy in November or December, but I think by January, February, he'll be an all league guy. And I think Jacoby Gillespie is going to be one of the best point guards in the country this year. I mean, he was terrific last year. Obviously, transfers in. He's bounced around the last couple of years, but he was great at Maryland. He can shoot it. He can distribute it. He'll have the ball in his hands a little bit more even this year. With the Vols, he'll have more on his plate. And Nate Ament is a special talent. Now, again, he doesn't necessarily look the part because he's got like a Kevin Durant type body. He's not quite as long as KD, but he's got that length and that type of body frame. Tough, skilled, but it's going to take some time for him. And I think that's going to be the key. How quickly Nate Ament looks like a top five pick in college and not about potential, but about production. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when it happens. So here's the thing, Rob. I just don't really, I don't want to question Rick Barnes. I don't want to question a Rick Barnes team because I just feel like I've done it enough over the last few years. And every year I look stupid when I do it because they're always really good. And, they're going to be a tournament team every year, as they have been since he got it going at Tennessee, right? We thought when he got there, I don't know. He's kind of at the end of the line. He was run out of Texas. He's done an incredible job. They've been to the tournament. What is it? 7 straight years, something like that, 8 straight years, whatever it's been. And they're always in the hunt. They're always in the top 3 or 4 in what's been the best league in America certainly the last year and one of the best leagues the last few years. So I just feel like he's going to find a way. There are some questions that we'll talk about with this team, but he's going to find a way to have them in the top 4 or 5 in the SEC. He's going to find a way.
So here's what I'll say is that they lost
A
a
lot.
ton
A
and they
lot.
lost like everything across the board, right? And what I mean by that is you lost scoring in Chaz Lanier and a guy that you could trust to go get you 20 a night. And if it wasn't going to be him, it was going to be Jordan Gainey, right? A guy that was capable of getting 20 a night. You lost a level of leadership when it comes to Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak, right? Like
Yeah.
you can quantify what Chaz Lanier brought to the program, right? You can, to a point, quantify what Zakai Ziegler brought to the program by the time that he was a senior.
Yeah.
You can't do that with Jemai Mashak when it comes to leadership, when it comes to
Sure.
understanding what Rick Barnes wants, when it comes to the culture and the locker room and the tone that was set with a guy that was that positive and that good defensively and that willing to sacrifice all of the personal accolades to be able to make sure that they won.
Yep.
And when you lose that much culture, I think it's a really hard thing to keep your culture at the same level. And to me, part of the reason why Tennessee kept outperforming what we thought was on their roster was because of the level of culture that they had. And
Sure.
I think this year it's going to be tough to replace all of that because I think when it comes to the leadership, that it's not, I don't want to say
Totally.
there's a leadership void, But I think it's virtually impossible to replace what Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack brought to you and the way that they impacted winning beyond just what you saw in the box score. To me, that's the concern.
100%.
It's not Rick
100%.
Barnes coaching. Like, it's just that those guys were so good at what they did.
No, you're right. You're right 100% about that. Like the intangibles those guys brought to the table was elite level. I don't think we'd even argue. Like Gillespie is more talented than Ziegler. He's more talented. His upside, their upside is higher with him. Nate Ament is a big time, like high character dude. But again, he's a freshman. He's trying to figure it out. You know, can Bishop Boswell be in that Meshack role? Can he nobody's going to be Meshack. Nobody. Zero. Nobody. Maybe in college basketball. He was one of one. But can Boswell be that guy that buys into being the best defender on this team and not worrying about his scoring or anything like that? So, yeah, I mean, my biggest concern, Rob, yes, is leadership, because Gillespie's a quiet kid and he's got to take more of a step forward on that end for sure. But to me, it's like, who's going to play alongside of Gillespie on the wing? Like that's my biggest concern. Who is that wing? I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, the kid Amari Abram, you know, he's bounced around, right? They got the kid Etan, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Berg, coming in from Israel, who they like, a guard who's quick, 6'2", quick, can get downhill. They just don't know who it's going to be at this point. It could be Boswell. It could be by committee at this point. But I think that's probably the biggest question with this team right now is who's going to kind of take some pressure off of Gillespie, because he's going to have a lot on him at the outset.
Yeah,
their front court's going to be really good, though. We'll get to their front court. I think that's going to be
Let's talk about
strong.
it now, because I think so.
Yep.
I have another part of the reason why I'm concerned about this team is because of the front court, right? Like, I want to start with Nate Ament. And frankly, I think Nate Ament is the X factor on this team. Like, point blank, period. I think Nate Ament is the X factor on this team, because he has as high of a ceiling as anybody in college basketball. But I think that there's zero chance that he gets anywhere near his ceiling this year for a number of different reasons. One, like, he's still kind of adjusting to this new role and this new idea that he is a go-to guy. He was kind of someone that was happy to fit in until probably the last 18 months or so, right? He's still adjusting to this idea that he's going to be an alpha. He needs to get stronger. He needs to get better handling the ball. He needs to improve his balance. He needs to improve his body. I think a lot of that will happen in the summer in the Tennessee Strength and Conditioning program, but he's not going to be anywhere near a finished product. Like, this guy in 4 years could end up being a 3-level big wing kind of a scorer, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. And if it doesn't happen this year for him, I don't know who ends up being the Chaz Lanier Connect role. What Barnes has done offensively the last few years is, like, he doesn't run complicated sets. It's like, all right, we got a couple guys that can go out there and win one-on-one for us, and we're just going to find a way to be able to run the same set over and over for Dalton Connect, or run the same set over and over for Chaz Lanier or Jordan Gainey or one of those guys. And they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it once they find something that works, and they wear you down because you can't stop it. And I'm not convinced that Nate Ament can be that guy. I don't think you want Jacoby Gillespie to be that guy, and I don't know where they have another player on this roster that has that level of offensive talent. And that's a concern to me, because I think that there was a change in the way that Barnes viewed building his program in the last couple of years, where he went from, we're going to recruit the best defenders that we could possibly get and no one's going to score on us, to, okay, we know how to coach defense. We need guys that actually know how to score. So let's get these guys that can score in, and we'll teach them how to guard the way that we want them to be able to guard. And we'll have a couple of these guys that are questionable, but it'll be enough because the rising tide will lift all ships, and we'll be good enough defensively. We might not be the best team in the country, but top 5 will be good enough to get us to the Elite 8. And we saw them do that the last 2 seasons. I don't know if they have that. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
They don't have that unless Nate Ament, comes up big early. They don't have a guy. Gillespie's got to be that guy early. He's got to be the do-it-all guy early until Ament, gets his feet wet and feels comfortable. But I like their bigs. I like their bigs. I mean, I'm not sure. Cade Phillips is awesome. Like I friggin' love that kid, and he's going to play a lot. He can guard multiple positions. He's tough. He's smart. All of it. He's a Rick Barnes type player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he goes from, playing 15 minutes a game to playing 22 minutes a game. Okpara was pretty good last year. He was pretty good for a kid that was highly ranked coming out of high school. He's older now. He gives you kind of a rim running, athletic, long, big. Jalen Carey comes in, and the key for him, I mean, again, skilled. It's just, can he guard? Can he guard, and will he get in great shape? Those two things. And then, I think the key may be JP Estrella, and he's super skilled. Kid from Maine who was hurt last year. I think he broke his foot last season and missed most of the year. But he's a guy that when he's healthy, and I'm told he's lost about 10 pounds. When he's healthy, you can throw it into in the post, and he can score. He can really, really score. So for me, I think he might be the X factor. Well, no, the X factor for me is that wing spot. Like, because I think, again, Gillespie, Ament, the bigs, they're going to be fine. But like, if you don't have, which you don't have a Chaz Linear or a Dalton Connect, who is going to be the guy that gives you production, or is it going to be by committee at that wing spot?
All right, let's talk through the expectations for this team. The last 4 years, they have been a top 10 team in KenPom at the end of the season, in each of those 4 seasons, right? The last 2 years, they've been to the Elite Eight, and they've been to the second round of the second weekend of the NCAA tournament in each of the last 3 seasons. The last time that Rick Barnes didn't make the NCAA tournament in a season where there was an NCAA tournament was all the way back in 2017. So, Goodman, I don't think anybody in their right mind would say that Tennessee is not a tournament caliber team. I think that this is going to be closer to what they were in 2021 as like a top 25-ish, 5-6 seed that might end up getting picked off in the first round. Then I think that they will be a team that will be top 2 or 3 in the SEC and in the mix to be able to make a run to a Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just go back to, I'm not going to doubt Rick Barnes in this thing. And like you said, he makes the tournament every year, going back to Texas days, right? Every year they were in the tournament, and he got fired for not going deep enough. And, that's the knock on Rick Barnes, right? It's been a while since he got to a Final Four. They've been to 2 Elite Eights in a row at Tennessee. He's raised the bar there. Yeah, I'm not sure this team is, quite as, and I don't even want to say talented, because again, they haven't had a guy like Nate Ament. Like he's more talented than any guy they've brought in since he's gotten to Knoxville. But and Gillespie is probably as good talent-wise as any guard he's had, right? Wouldn't you say at Tennessee since he got there?
I mean, he'd be up there.
Right. So it's the other guys. It's the other guys. It's him figuring that out. Are they going to play? Maybe they'll play a little faster. I don't know. I mean, they got to figure out a way to play here. Last year they didn't have the depth. That's the one thing. They had to play slower because they only had 7 or 8 guys for a lot of last season. So Gillespie's got to stay healthy. But I think realistic expectations for this Tennessee team are, top 25 all year, top 4, 5 in the SEC, and then you get to a Sweet 16, and that's a really good year this year for them.
Yep. What I'm curious what you think about this. What changed with Rick Barnes? Because towards the end of his Texas tenure, I understand that like you're when you're making, I mean, he made the tournament every season except for 2013 when he was there. But also, if you're looking at like kind of Ken Palm numbers, his worst four seasons at Texas were the last four seasons that he had at Texas. And he's coming to Tennessee and he's turned the Vols program into like that's a football school, right? It's the SEC, and he's turned them into an absolute juggernaut that competes year in and year out with the likes of Kentucky and Alabama and some of those other Florida and some of those other big time programs in the SEC. So how did it flip? What changed? What turned him into a guy that looks like a perennial candidate for SEC Coach of the Year?
I think part of it is I think I wrote a column on this at the end of his days at Texas. I just felt like he wasn't as motivated recruiting wise. Remember at Texas, like towards the middle, I mean, they were getting dudes. Obviously, we know KD, but it was more than that. Avery Bradley, Damian James. I mean, he was bringing in dudes every year. And I just felt like towards the end, it wasn't the same. He didn't have that same hunger that he had early on at Texas. Staff as well. I don't think their staff worked in unison nearly as much as probably they should have towards the end at Texas. He got to Tennessee, and I think he was motivated. Remember, that thing was kind of lined up right away. Got fired at Texas, and like a day later, he was the head coach of Tennessee. And I just think it was one of those where it was like, all right, I'm going to show him. And he got lucky. I mean, Grant Williams, remember Desmond Oliver had recruited him at Charlotte. He gets hired by Barnes at Tennessee. Nobody thinks Grant Williams is a mid-major plus. Des convinces him to take him. Grant Williams was obviously huge in building, getting momentum for this Tennessee team. And the other thing this year, you look at their roster, and Nate Ament and Gillespie are getting paid big money, but I don't think Tennessee has the money that I don't think they're top 10 in the sport in NIL. I'd be shocked if they are. So I think also you look at the roster and look at, I don't want to say the limitations they have, but I don't think they're ahead of the game a couple of years ago with NIL. And now I think they're probably middle of the pack in terms of some of those, top teams in the SEC.
I'm sure that they are because a lot of those programs in the SEC are dealing with the whole idea where, yeah, we want to win in football before we want to win in basketball. Winning in basketball is cool, but like this money needs to go to making sure that we have QB1, we have RB1, we have the guys that we need on the field. All right, grade their offseason, Goodman. What are you giving them?
I'll give them a B. I'm going to give them a B. I'm not enamored with it. Maybe a B plus, but I'll give them a B plus with getting Nate Ament late. I'll give them a B plus because they got a top 5 guy and they got Gillespie, like one of the best transfers, one of the best freshmen. So I think there are some holes there. I think they could have filled. Again, I would have liked to have seen him get one, somebody a little more proven, at that smaller wing spot. But I'll give him a B plus.
Yeah, I went with a straight B, mostly just because, and this is inevitable and kind of out of Rick Barnes' control, but like you lose so much with Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack on. Like it just there's nothing that you can do to replace that. I love Gillespie. I think Nate Ament's got a real chance, but I think that you are taking a very real risk on investing that much money in a guy that's a little bit away from being a finished product. But I will gladly, happily, and enthusiastically be proving wrong if Nate Ament can find a way to be able to be like a 16, 17 point per game guy. I hope he does, because when Tennessee's good, it makes basketball that much more fun. So, Goodman, this has been our off-season grades for the Tennessee Volunteers. Make sure you're subscribed to the Field of 68 YouTube channel and to our podcast feed. We're dropping somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 of these over the course of August and September. So we will see you guys coming up on the next episode, Field of 68 off-season grades.